Starseek Conqueror, 10,000 times rewards, frigate destroys stars. Like, share and subscribe. Episode 11. At present, the subspace chaos god, fear of abuse, the degree of attention to the 0521 galaxy in the constellation of Shepherd is a glimpse. In the 0521 galaxy in the constellation of Shepherd, the subspace demon threat rises by 1%. The danger of all intelligent beings in the galaxy being contaminated by subspace gods has increased by 10%. All the underintelligent creatures in the galaxy are in danger of contamination by subspace evil gods, rising by 50%. Due to the threat of subspace pollution, there is a possibility that the 0521 galaxy in the constellation of Shepherd will have a cluster of contaminated organisms wandering. Please pay attention to the players. Killing creatures contaminated with subspace will reward you with plenty of rewards. A system announcement. Qin Sheng's eyes widened slightly. Good fellow, what's the situation? The subspace evil gods glanced at their galaxy? But isn't this level of attention a glimpse of the level that shouldn't only appear in the 10th year of the game? How long has it been since the Starsea game started, and there is a threat of subspace pollution? No. Is it because of me? Qin Sheng looked strange. But what attracted Qin Sheng's idea even more was that killing creatures contaminated by subspace would get a lot of rewards. In this way, I don't really care, but other players, it's a bit dangerous. Qin Sheng thought darkly. He has an emperor aura, and is immune to any subspace evil god pollution. Still, there's one more thing to fix. Qin Sheng turned his gaze to the galactic public screen. I looked at the faceless remarks that the group of stick countrymen had sent before. The Milky Way region, the Sagittarius Cantilever region, which is within one of the galaxies. The Stick Nation player Sejong King hurriedly withdrew from the galactic public screen. He sighed, how could he suddenly appear? Immediately there was a little fear in my heart. At this time, other players around him, who were also from the Stick Nation, sent him a private message. King Sejong, what should I do? The Emperor is so powerful, will it be bad for us, Smecta? When King Sejong saw the private message, he shivered at the thought of the Emperor's title of Ironheart Exterminator. But, think again. Why should he be afraid? The Emperor is certainly powerful. But maybe it's tens of thousands of light years away from him. At such a distance, even if the Emperor is strong, can he still cross the galaxy to hit him? At the thought of this, King Sejong suddenly trembled again. When even he replied, don't worry about Smecta, the Emperor may be tens of thousands of light years away from us, can he still come directly down the network line to beat us? However, the next moment, a galactic announcement flashed, and King Sejong's expression immediately stiffened. Galactic Horn Emperor, Bounty Stick Nation player, King Sejong, Kimchi King. When the players destroy their base once, I will give 100 tons of heavy hydrogen, and everyone involved will have a share. Destroy their fleet, destroy their base, but don't kill them, wait until they have built the base again, destroy it again. They rebuild once, they destroy once. I still give resources. After the destruction, private message to my image. King Sejong's expression instantly stiffened. He wanted to cry. At this time, he suddenly received a private message. Or the Stick Nation player who messaged him before. King Sejong, you said before, where is your location? Calling the heavens unspiritual, calling the earth ungodly. Qin Sheng wanted to let these Stick country players feel the feelings, what is deep despair. After issuing this announcement, Qin Sheng turned his attention to scientific research projects. The first one has been studied pretty much. The study is complete. The Comet Storm missile system has been transplanted to the siege cruiser of the heavy artillery of the star. Avrilja gained experience points, 1,000. 100x increase. Avrilia gains experience points, 100,000. Avrila level increased to level 2. Andilia level up to level 3. Avelia level up to level 7. The primary curvature engine was successfully transplanted to the Godstar Siege heavy gun cruiser. Consumes technical value x 10,000. Avrilia gained experience points, 10,000. 100x increase. Avrilia gains experience points, 1 million. Avrilia's level has been raised. The EN 18,000 fast vector engine, 400 million km per hour, has been successfully transplanted to the Wuanjuan class pulsed heavy gun frigate. Consume technical value x 5,000. Avrilia gained experience, 5,000. 100x increase. Avrilia gains experience points, 500,000. Avrilia's level has been raised. Tactical humanoid, K1 Angelia, race, silicon-based creature / tactical humanoid, body length, 182 centimeters, rating, LV.12, occupation, researcher, passive skill, supercomputer, hash rate level, quantum excellence level, potential cap, SSS. Avrilia's computing power has increased from excellence to quantum excellence. Get at least 100x boost. And now, the research is done. The shortcomings of the two battleship blueprints that Qin Sheng currently possessed were also balanced. The Wuanjuan-class pulsed heavy gun frigates were replaced with better conventional engines, and the conventional speed was increased from 4 million km per hour to 400 million km per hour. The siege heavy gun cruiser acquired the Comet Storm missile system as an anti-aircraft weapon. Anti-aircraft fire jumped directly from 0 to 100,000. A primary curvature engine was also installed, and the curvature sailing mode was obtained. Under curvature, the ship will reach the speed of 92% of the speed of light. Arithema. The name is a bit inappropriate, at least it has to be a name that matches Wuanjuan. Qin Sheng renamed the battleship. He thought about it for a while, and then he said, just change the name to Qin Wan class. The Launch and Star Siege heavy artillery cruiser was renamed as the Qin King class storm cruiser. Now it's time to start building both kinds of warships. Qin Sheng nodded with satisfaction. Episode 12. Since now Qin Sheng was only a first-level commander. Therefore, he could only have a maximum of 10 combat ships under his command. If you want to upgrade, you must personally command the fleet to fight. The previous battles were all commanded by Avrilla, so Qin Sheng did not gain experience. Fortunately, there is no restriction on the type of ships. Just build 1 Qinhuan-class offensive cruiser and 9 Wuanjuan-class pulse heavy artillery frigates. Qin Sheng pondered. The battles that may be encountered at this stage are generally encountered with interstellar pirates. Siege battles are generally not encountered. Therefore, the Qin King-class offensive cruiser only needs 1. The remaining 9 were all built into the Wuanjun-class pulse heavy gun frigates. Oh yes, one more thing. Qin Sheng suddenly remembered a little. He had to set up a sign. A symbol representing him, painted on top of the ship. This makes it easier to distinguish. Soon, the battleship in the virtual panel in front of you was changed color. It became pure black. Above this pure black hull, a blood-red Qin character written in a small seal body appeared. Very conspicuous. Moreover, the color of the battleship has become pure black, which makes the battleship as a whole have a bit more of a solemn temperament. Build a Qinhuan-class storm cruiser. Build fast. Consuming the Battleship Universal Construction Module X500 for quick assembly and construction? Yes. To quickly build a Qinhuan-class storm cruiser, it will cost the battleship's Universal Construction Module 500. The Wuanjun-class pulsed heavy gun frigate consumes less, but it also needs 250. This directly consumes 2,750 Universal Construction Modules. There are currently 47,250 battleship general-purpose construction modules in stock. That is to say, I have a 100-fold bonus increase, otherwise, I really can't afford to use so many battleship universal construction modules. Qin Sheng looked at the construction modules assembled together in the baseport and sighed. Blue rays of light condense and then become entities. Battleship modules of different shapes are quickly assembled together. Gradually an entire battleship is formed. The 750-meter-long Qinhuan-class attack cruiser is huge. Previously, on Earth, Qin Sheng had no concept of the size of the battleship. But now, watching it with his own eyes, Qin Sheng felt shocked. An aircraft carrier of 300 meters in the age of the Earth, if erected, would be taller than the tall buildings of most cities. Imagine that. The Qin King-class storm cruiser is 750 meters long. If placed on Earth, the whole is erected. Then, it will be nearly twice the height of the Oriental Pearl Tower of the Dragon Kingdom demon capital on Earth. P.S. There is a picture in the lower right, which is the height comparison between the Oriental Pearl Tower and the erected 003 aircraft carrier Fu ship, which is simply huge. Soon, with the help of the battleship's Universal Construction Module, a Qinhuan-class storm cruiser and 9 Wuanjuan-class pulse heavy gun destroyers were built. This fleet, which had only 10 warships but was a huge fleet, was parked in space next to the meteorite with a diameter of 3 kilometers where Qin Sheng's base was located. At first glance, it seems that the size of this fleet is larger than the glass-shelled meteorites, with a diameter of nearly 3 kilometers. As for the original Magic FG-300 type frigate, it had been dismantled by Qin Sheng's order. Fleet name, King of Qin, to attack the battle group. Fleet consolidated armor value, 11,481,000. Combined firepower of the fleet against ships, 2.65 million. Fleet integrated anti-aircraft firepower, 1 million. Fleet integrated siege firepower, 650,000. Horror, the armor value of such a fleet is more than that of a second-level space city. Qin Sheng inhaled cold air. And such a fleet belongs to him. Now that we have a fleet, we have to arrange operators above the battleships. The standard crew of a Wuhan-Jun-class pulsed heavy gun frigate was 1,200 people. Minimum number of operators, 300 technicians, 200 maintenance personnel. The number of full loads can be about 5,000 people. Now Qin Sheng had 900 tactical humanoid maidens under his command, and one elite maiden warrior of St. Heli. Thought about it a little. Qin Sheng decided to calculate according to the standard of 2,500 people per Wuhan-Jun-class pulse heavy artillery frigate. Among them, there were 300 battleship operators and 200 maintenance personnel. They are all tactical humanoid maidens. The remaining 2,000 places are allocated to 1,000 fighting humanoid maidens and 1,000 elite female warriors of St. Heli. The usual duty of these fighters is to guard the interior of the battleship, prevent possible enemy intrusions, and jump into battle. You can also launch a jump gang against enemy ships or land on the opposing planet for land combat. Jump gang combat, what a loyal way of fighting. The Qin Huang-class storm cruiser carries more people. It is calculated according to 5,000 people. 500 battleship operators, 500 maintenance personnel. 2,000 fighting humanoid maidens, 2,000 elite maiden warriors of St. Heli. In this way, the entire fleet, 10 ships, would need 27,500 men. Among them, there are 5,500 technical human figures responsible for battleship control and battleship maintenance. The remaining combatants numbered 22,000. Among them, there are 16,500 tactical humanoid maidens. St. Heli's elite maiden warriors 11,000. The amount is determined, so let's start assembling the population now. A tactical humanoid maiden consumes 0.9 tons of metal, 0.08 tons of purple crystals, and 0.02 tons of heavy hydrogen energy. An elite teenage warrior of St. Heli needs to consume 1.4 tons of metal, 0.05 tons of purple crystals, and 0.05 tons of heavy hydrogen energy. Add it all together. 29,440 tons of metal would have to be consumed. 1,870 tons of purple crystals. Heavy hydrogen energy 880 tons. It is also necessary to build a set of amethyst nanoregenerated individual armor and matching equipment for everyone. A full set of amethyst nanoregenerated individual armor equipment. It requires the consumption of 1.5 tons of metal, 0.4 tons of purple crystals, and 0.1 tons of heavy hydrogen energy. Plus the original 901 people, and Qin Sheng himself also wanted it. 28,403 sets will be made. 42,604.5 tons of metal were consumed. 11,361.2 tons of purple crystals. 2,843 tons of heavy hydrogen energy. Altogether, 72,045 tons of metal need to be consumed. 13,231 tons of purple crystals. Heavy hydrogen energy 3,720.3 tons. The consumption is huge. If it weren't for the huge resources I would have received with a 100-fold reward. Otherwise, relying solely on the base's daily output of 10 tons of heavy hydrogen energy, the heavy hydrogen energy needed to assemble these populations and equipment alone will require me to mine for 372 days. Qin Sheng sighed. Other players are now producing only 10 tons of heavy hydrogen energy per day. And just by creating population, he casually consumes the output of other players for a year. Episode 13. I only have a first-class base now, but I have directly produced cruisers, which makes sense. Qin Sheng looked at his current base, which was only a first-level base, and touched his nose. At present, all kinds of buildings in Qin Sheng's base are first-class. Primary space base, LV.1, current building, central research room. Tier 1 mining wells, metal output, 2,000 tons/day, purple crystals, 100 tons/day, heavy hydrogen, 10 tons/day, first-class battleship production line. Primary population assembly center. Open-air warehouse platform. Current resources, metals, 9,992,779.5 tons. Purple crystals, 998 bens 6,769 tons. Heavy hydrogen, 996,279.7 tons. Base defense, none. Generally speaking, ships of this class of cruiser are only raised after the level of the base to level 6. The level of science and technology has been upgraded step by step. Unlock the cruiser production line. To be manufactured. However, Qin Sheng was different. After all, Qin Sheng had a 100-fold reward. After strengthening the battleship blueprint 100 times, it also automatically obtained the relevant technology. plus a battleship universal construction module that can instantly create ships. Modules that can be automatically evolved based on currently owned technology. Otherwise, Qin Sheng would have to be like other ordinary players. Honestly upgrade the buildings of the base, step by step to improve their own technology, in order to build higher level ships. The level size of the base is linked to what level of battleships can be manufactured. The player's own commander level is linked to how many warships he can have in command. Although Qin Sheng was very special, the base could not always be a first level. After all, the level of the base is also related to the reception of these special tasks. Mechanized Population Assembly Center fully automates the assembly of population. On average, in 1 second, a bumpy, good-looking tactical humanoid girl walks out of the population assembly center. And all production, assembly, it takes 7.6 hours. This time, there are no modules that are assembled in an instant. Qin Sheng could only wait. Waiting period. Emperor Gangster, the 6 of us have worked together to destroy the base of a Stick Nation player, you see what you said before. Some players sent private messages to Qin Sheng, who sent images of them destroying the player base of the Stick Nation. Qin Sheng is naturally a man of words and faith. After seeing the video, he immediately opened the trading system and traded 100 tons of heavy hydrogen resources to these 6 people. And the players who got the resources were all very happy, and in their words, they were full of gratitude to Qin Sheng. After all, 100 tons of heavy hydrogen, at the level of their current base, they had to produce it for 10 days. The tactical humanoid maiden, St. Heli elite maiden warrior population is assembled. After waiting, the entire population was finally assembled. And Qin Sheng, on the other hand, also included the full-time combatants, in units of 1,000 people and 1 war regiment. 11 battle group of fighting humanoid maidens were formed. 11 elite maiden warriors of St. Heli. Each Wu and Jun class pulsed heavy artillery frigate is assigned a combat humanoid maiden regiment, a St. Heli elite maiden warrior regiment. As the flagship of Qin Sheng, the Qin King class offensive cruiser, it was assigned 2 battle humanoid maiden regiments, 2 St. Heli elite maiden warrior regiments. A battle-shaped maiden equipped with amethyst nano-regenerated individual armor, her combat power is incomparably strong. Generally speaking, it is the ability to break in and control or slaughter an entire enemy warship. Finally, all the battleships were equipped with crews. Qin Sheng left Avrilia at the base to take charge of the upgrade of the base. At the very least, the base had to be upgraded to level 9. The 9th level base has another name, that is, the level 0.9 civilization. Qin Sheng's goal was to at least raise the base level to level 0.9 or above in a short period of time, thus being able to start the level 1 civilization level promotion mission. And one of the conditions of the first level civilization level promotion task. That is, to control at least an entire planet. There are 12 planets in the Shepherd's Galaxy. That is to say, this galaxy can only accommodate a maximum of 12 forces of the first level civilization and above. Now Qin Sheng was a first level base, a first level commander's rank. He himself had to be upgraded in order to control more battleships. Although Qin Sheng's current 10 warships had more than 2 million firepower against ships, this firepower may be invincible among the players. However, there are still a large number of incredibly powerful non-player forces in the Star Sea game, alien civilizations, etc. As Qin Sheng alone knew, there were a large number of non-player alien civilization forces in the Mufu Galaxy. The fleets of guardians such as the planet colonies are innumerable. A lowest level 2nd level space city has at least 15 7th level guard fleets. The strength of these guards is not comparable to that of pirates. The number of warships in the 7th level garrison fleet of another civilization was about 45 to 50. Combined firepower against ships, at least 300,000. 15 combined, nearly 700 space battleships combined, more than 4.5 million. Not to mention the defensive firepower that Space City already has, at least more than 2 million opposing ships. Taken together, it's nearly 7 million pairs of firepower. And this is only a 2nd level Space City. Further up, there are 3 levels, 5 levels, and 6 levels of space cities. And the 7th level attached Star Space City. 10 planetary colonies. The strength of each one is very terrifying. Now Qin Sheng was just strong among all the players. Having a level 10 planetary colony has just reached the standard of a level 1 civilization. The first level civilization is only the dominant one in the planetary system. Beyond the planetary system, above the first level civilization, there are 6 levels of civilization. Of course, the top 7th level civilization is also a cosmic level civilization. It was still incomparably far away from Qin Sheng now. At the very least, the resources that Qin Sheng now possessed were enough for him to upgrade to the 9th level base and then start the civilization level assessment task. Do you consume 10,000 tons of metal, 1,000 tons of purple crystals, and 100 tons of heavy hydrogen to raise the base level to level 2? Yes. Upgrade takes time, 10 days. Anvilia, when I'm away, you'll control the upgrade of the base. Before leaving, Qin Sheng looked at Anvilia. Leaving the base this time, Qin Sheng estimated that it would take a month. Qin Sheng did not intend to take all the warships with him, at least he had to leave a Wuan-Jun-class pulse heavy artillery frigate in charge of defending the base. And 1 month, enough time for the base to rise to level 3. Base upgrades take time, 1 liter 2, 10 days, 2 liters 3, 20 days. And so on. From level 1 to level 9, it takes a total of 360 days. Almost exactly a year. Episode 14. Starsea games are not like those online games on Earth. While there are some similar features, time is real. The universe is also a real-size universe. The Shepherd's Galaxy alone is 1.5 light-years in diameter. In his previous life, Qin Sheng had been groping and messing around in the universe for hundreds of years. Before there was a jump engine, most of the time was in a hurry. And according to Qin Sheng's memory, between 1 and 5 years after the start of the Starsea game, the player's struggle is the most intense. A year after the game starts, the stronger players have already taken the lead in upgrading to the 9th level base. That is, the level of civilization of level 0.9. It already has a perfect curvature engine and has a large type of ship such as an aircraft carrier that is several kilometers long. Players, in order to promote the first level of civilization, will form an alliance to complete the evaluation task as an alliance. That is, occupy at least one planet. In the next 2 or 3 years, 90% of the players who are still alive will be promoted to level 0.9 civilization. At that time, the great scuffle will really begin. An alliance war between players, a war between players and local forces in the galaxy. That's the real cruelty. In order to compete for the planet, players and the native civilization of the galaxy will fight tens of thousands, if not hundreds of thousands of warships, in space. After space, he landed on the planet to fight a more brutal ground war. Deception, alliance, betrayal. Various dramas are staged in turn. It's a big drama. And such a big drama. At present, Qin Sheng did not want to participate. Because now, Qin Sheng wanted to complete the first level civilization level assessment. Qin Sheng wanted to be promoted to a first level civilization now. Although he only had a first level base now, he had the advantage of being reborn and foresight. Qin Sheng knew a hidden task. It's in the Shepherd's Galaxy, near the inner circle. That place, not too far from where he was. 9,406 billion kilometers only. And a light year, about 94,600 billion kilometers. That's 0.1 light years away. The speed of the primary curvature engine currently loaded by Qin Sheng's fleet was 92% of the speed of light. In other words, Qin Sheng only needed 39 days to arrive. After Anvilia knew where Qin Sheng was targeting, she completed the calculation in her mind in an instant. Knowing that it would take Qin Sheng 39 days just to reach the target location this time. Even if the time of day is settled, then rush back. It takes almost 3 months to come and go. I can't see the Emperor for 3 months. Anvilia only felt panicked in her heart. And this time, Qin Sheng was obviously going to take Ella and Hetty with him. Be preempted by Ella. Hetty was the woman who had just appeared next to the Emperor. In case she doesn't want to face the temptation of the Emperor. Avrilia couldn't have imagined it. No, she can't back down anymore, she has to act. Here, Qin Sheng had just changed into amethyst nano-regenerated individual armor and was preparing to wear a helmet. Suddenly, I saw Anvilia jerking closer to him. Stand in front of him, pluck up enough courage, tiptoe. Qin Sheng suddenly felt a burst of softness in his lips. What's the situation? Qin Sheng was confused. Anvilia, you. Qin Sheng pushed away Anvilia's fragrant shoulder and said in amazement. Avrilia was very different from before, her face was no longer the cold expression, but full of red. I'm panicked if I haven't seen you in 3 months. Brain data flowed, and Avrilia closed the door to the central laboratory. Only she and Qin Sheng were left. 3 hours later, Qin Sheng was forced to be 3 hours late before he officially pulled out the fleet. When he set out, Qin Sheng was covering his waist. After all, the tactical humanoid basically does not know how to be tired. The Qin King class attacked the cruisers and bridges. Hetty approached Qin Sheng with a worried face, a mechanical tail flicking behind her, and her crimson eyes were full of worry. My emperor, just a few hours ago, the slave was very worried about you. Worried about me? Although I am still an ordinary person, I am still very strong in this regard. No need to worry. As a man, Qin Sheng naturally had to have self-esteem in this regard. Needless to say, let's go. At the same time, Qin Sheng's thoughts had already drifted to 0.1 light-years away. He had to think hard about the information about the hidden mission. The Qin King's battle against the battle fleet, Advance 4. A fleet of Qin Huang-class storm cruisers and 8 Wuhan Jun-class pulse heavy artillery destroyers were under the command of Qin Sheng. Began to enter the curvature state of the hull. The curvature engines inside the battleships began to function. A huge ball of curvature envelopes the entire fleet. Curvature bubbles began to distort the space in front of the Qin King's battle group fleet. Instantly, the distorted space pulled the entire fleet forward and sprinted forward. Against the background of the space around the fleet, the dense stars turned into Dao white light and began to retreat sharply. Earth Standard Time, 39 days later. And inside the fleet, because of Einstein's theory of relativity, time dilation reasons, Qin Sheng himself felt the time, 15 days later. Qin Sheng's entire fleet had already spanned a distance of 946 billion kilometers. Successfully reached the target location. The junction of the outer and inner rings of the Shepherd's Seat. An ice blue planet is located here. The specific location should be 0.4 light-years away from the core circle of the star Multuri. That is, the distance of 37,844 billion kilometers. Of course, Qin Sheng did not set off from the base and then marched all the way parallel to the inner circle. To say that the specific departure direction should be Qin Sheng's base, facing the direction of the star, some lower. At this moment, the position of this planet and Qin Sheng's fleet. That is, the oblique position of the most central star of the entire Shepherd's galaxy, 37,804 billion kilometers away. P.S. There is a picture in the lower right corner, and a figure was spent with the mouse on the computer, which is easy to understand. Of course, the level of painting may be a little different. At this moment, it was about 20 million kilometers away from the ice blue planet at that moment. It was as if a ray of light suddenly flew in from the same place. Then it stopped sharply. The 9 warships of the Qin King battle group were out of the state of curvature. Slow down and stop. That's the target location. Inside the bridge of the Qin King class patrolling, Qin Sheng was dressed in black livery and a single soldier armor painted with the word Qin on his chest, looking at the ice blue planet 20 million kilometers away on the virtual panel in front of him. According to the strategy of the past life, it is probably at this point in time that there will be hidden missions triggered. Qin Sheng looked around with the help of the battleship's external observation equipment and found nothing different. Just ready to give the order to let the fleet set off for that planet. Suddenly, a sudden change occurred. Episode 16. Sure enough, the Weijin Alliance was one of the most notorious alliances in the past life. The Alliance Lord Wei Zhentian was really brain-dead. Qin Sheng's Emperor aura had 3 effects. Effect 1. Any human, subhuman, humanoid creature will see you and can't help but admire you from the heart. Effect 2. Any non-humanoid alien race will feel a great deal of fear from the heart when it sees you. Effect 3. Your own existence is supreme, immune to subspace pollution, immune to chaos evil god pollution. The first 2 effects can be actively turned off. Otherwise, it has always been admired by thousands of people, and it is also very tiring. The third effect is the passive effect. When Qin Sheng saw Wei Zhentian for the first time, he felt that this person was a brain cripple. Without even thinking about it, he directly closed the first effect of the Emperor's aura. Qin Sheng didn't want to be admired by the brain cripple at all. And now it seems that, sure enough, he guessed correctly, this person is the ally of the Weijin Alliance, and he is the biggest brain cripple. In the starry sky, from all directions, came a battleship with the emblem of the Weijin Alliance. The logo of the Weijin Alliance, really like the name of the Alliance Lord Wei Zhentian, is the symbol of the Overlord Tiger in Transformers. Combined, there were nearly 200 fleets on all sides. According to this situation, at least 50 Wei Zhenming players came. Wei Zhentian asked ecstatically, how many people have come? Lord of the Qi dynasty, the nearest 61 players, 54 have come. 170 warships in total. Total attack firepower against ships, 350,000. After Wei Zhentian's ecstasy, he frowned, that is to say, of the nearest 61 people, 7 people did not come. When this is over, expel the 7 who did not come from the alliance. Then assemble the fleet to encircle and suppress, and when the life and death of the lord of this alliance are at stake, they will not come. Don't even think about living, destroy their base, and after killing them, all the resources will be handed over to the alliance. Our league also has to make room for other players who want to enter the alliance and can't enter. Wei Zhentian said in a vicious tone. He suddenly turned his gaze and looked in the direction of Qin Sheng's fleet. Hatred appeared in his eyes. Order half the players to gather at once and come to my rescue. The other half of the players assemble the fleet and go kill him. As soon as the words fell, the player next to Wei Zhentian, who was also the only player who came out with him, looked a little hesitant. That player is just passing by, and besides, there are 10 battleships on the opposite side. What's wrong with 10 battleships? Half of the fleet we came to help, firing nearly 200,000 against the ships. Are you still afraid of him alone? I really don't like the tone of the man who just spoke to me. Kill him for me, destroy all his fleets. In space, 85 Wei Zhen Alliance warships were coming towards Qin Sheng. 85 silver and white warships with an average body length of 250 meters, carrying the Decepticon Tiger emblem, swooped in en masse, and they were also quite powerful. The Allies have orders to destroy the player's fleet in front of you. Up and up. Dozens of players controlled their battleships and pounced on Qin Sheng's Qin King battle group. The two sides are constantly getting closer. 1 million kilometers, 900,000 kilometers. Until the distance between the two sides is less than 100,000 kilometers. And Qin Sheng's fleet remained motionless in place. No attack was launched. Ha ha ha. This guy wouldn't be scared silly anymore. It's all close to 50,000 kilometers, and he doesn't move, so let's attack. 10 battleships, a guy with a little strength, but anyone in front of our Wei Zhen alliance is also a waste. 50,000 kilometers, this is the best range, basically will not fall short. Give me a salvo. Directly reimburse the 10 battleships opposite this waste in one round. Dozens of mighty alliance players laughed, but just as they were about to attack. Suddenly, the 7 FG-300 frigates in the front row, which were occasionally lined up in a straight line, exploded violently at almost the same time. If there is a high-speed camera recording it at the moment, then slow down tens of millions of times, one will notice that a shell first hit a frigate in the forefront, and then the rear deck of the frigate in its opposite position bulged. The hard alloy deck was breached in an instant. Directly came through, the battleship has not had time to explode. The shell penetrated in the same way through the other 6 battleships directly behind this battleship, almost on the same line. After all of them had been penetrated, the battleship seemed to react, and then, almost at the same time, the explosion occurred. In the muzzle of the 600mm ultra-electromagnetic acceleration siege heavy gun of the Qin Huang-class storm cruiser, there is still an electromagnetic force that has not yet faded. For these wastes, Qin Sheng would rather wait for a moment and a cannon to penetrate several battleships, rather than waste excess shells. Ding dong, you destroy the player, the Demon Head's battleship and gain technical value x2. Ding dong, you kill the player's Demon Head and gain 200 personal experience points. Ding dong, you destroyed the player, the battleship of the Pillar of the Sky, and gained technical value x6. Ding dong, you killed the player's Pillar of Heaven and gained 150 personal experience points. 100x increase. You get 800 technical points and 35,000 personal experience. Your personal commander has been promoted to level 3. The number of commandable warships has increased, a 3rd level commander can command 60 warships. The azure electromagnetic light flickered continuously in space, converging on the muzzle of the gun. Constantly following the barrel of the gun. Rumble. The barrel of the entire 600mm ultra-electromagnetic acceleration siege heavy artillery was suddenly bounced backwards by the huge recoil shock. 0.005 of a thousandth of a shell accelerated to the speed of light burst out at a speed of 1500 km per second. Subsequently, the remaining 8 Wu and Jun-class pulse heavy artillery frigates attacked at the same time. The 8 purple plasma rays emitted by the 8 plasma special pulsed heavy cannons were like tearing apart the firmament in the pitch-black space. Straight across. Quick as a wink. The remaining 70 or so battleships all exploded at the same moment. All killed. Ding dong, you destroy the player, meat stuffed battleship and get the skill value x5. Ding dong, you kill the player's minced meat and gain 300 personal experience points. Ding dong, you destroyed the player, a battleship 37 times a night, get the technical value x8. Ding dong, you killed the player 37 times a night and gained 600 personal experience points. 100-fold increase. You get the technical value x 17,000. You get 810,000 personal experience points. Your personal commander level has been raised to level 6. The number of warships you can command has increased at this time. Current number of commandable warships, 10/210. On the other side, the salvaged Wei Zhentian was a little confused by the sound of a prompt coming from the ear of the listener. Your allies, the demon head, was killed by the player emperor. Your allies, the pillar of heaven was killed by the player emperor. The listener hears the constant sound of prompts in his ears, looking at the flickering flashing light of battleship explosions in the distant space. Wei Zhentian's eyes widened, he was extremely shocked, and his voice shouted with endless remorse, that person is actually the emperor. Episode 18, As long as you believe in our Lord. Head to the Galactic Center, after meeting my Lord in the Subspace Rift. You will surely receive the greatest favor of our Lord. When the time comes to upgrade to the Demon Prince. At the snap of a finger, even a 4th-level civilization will be destroyed. Dear Emperor, join us. Qin Sheng inhaled a cool breath. He never expected that the fear of abuse would value him so much. The export is the promise that the devil will rise. The exit is the combat power of the lowest level 4 civilization. You must know that Qin Sheng is not even a 1st-level civilization now. As long as you join chaos, you can directly gain the combat power to easily destroy the 4th-level civilization. It should be known that the 4th-level civilization has already completely transformed a planet. The terrifying power of building a star fortress was gone. But tease. You also have to go to the Galactic Center to visit the sadistic avatar. The Galactic Center was at least 50,000 light-years away from Qin Sheng at this moment. At the speed of 92% of the current Qin Sheng fleet. It will take at least 50,000 years to arrive. More than 50,000 years. Although due to the influence of time expansion, Qin Sheng's own time at the speed of light at 92% was only 20,000 years. But time in the outside world has indeed passed by 50,000 years. With 50,000 years of time, Qin Sheng estimated that he had already unified the multiverse. What about the commotion? And even now, Qin Sheng could ascend the demon on the spot and become the demon prince. That Qin Sheng could not agree. After all, in the entire universe, the 4th-level civilization can be said to be as many as cattle feathers. The 5th and 6th-level civilizations above the 4th-level civilization were even more terrifying. And the chaos believers are the existence that everyone shouts and beats. The demon prince is the most important thing in the whole universe. Here he became the demon prince, and on the other side, a 6th-level civilization casually threw him a regionalized, two-way foil. He couldn't stand it. Okay, you don't have to say more. Qin Sheng directly interrupted the other party's words. Then a wave. The main gun of a Wuhan Jun-class pulsed heavy gun frigate was fired instantaneously. Above the virtual screen, the abusive believer did not react at all, and his eyes were full of purple light. It was then completely reduced to ashes. And at this time, the system's prompt sounded again. Attention all the shepherds. Subspace chaos evil gods, fear of abuse of the shepherd's galaxy attention increased by 1%. Current level of attention, a glimpse of the sky. Attention, 2%. The subspace demon threat level in the shepherd's constellation galaxy is 2%. The likelihood that all intelligent beings in the constellation of Shepherd are contaminated by subspace rises to 20%. The likelihood that all non-intelligent beings in the constellation of Shepherd will be contaminated by subspace rises to 60%. Qin Sheng sighed, good fellow, it went up again. Casually open the player chat screen of the Mogul's galaxy and glance at it. It's again, what the hell is this subspace chaos evil god? I don't understand, please explain. Ask for thunder. Science. Close the chat screen. Qin Sheng did not speak, but looked at the prompt of the system. You destroyed the Chaos Believer's escort, get the Chaos Destruction Voucher X 0.1, 100-fold increase. You got the Chaos Destruction Credential X10. Chaos Destruction Credentials, a reward policy issued by the Holy See in order to destroy the forces of chaos. This can be used as a voucher in the Holy See of Judgment in exchange for a reward. The Judgment Holy See is a 6th-level peak civilization, a 5th-level civilization below. Battleships, planets, technology, and other rewards can be exchanged for this voucher. The more Chaos Destruction credentials you hold, the higher the level of rewards you can earn. Note, however, that the more Chaos Destruction credentials hold, the easier it is to cause chaotic ideas. Good stuff. This was the only thing that could make Qin Sheng happy. In the Department of Judgment and Rewards, the technology of civilizations below the 5th level can be exchanged for such certificates. It seems that after I leave the Shepherd's Galaxy, I will have to go to the Holy See of Judgment first. Qin Sheng thought to himself. As for the point of attracting chaos's attention, Qin Sheng didn't care. He possessed the aura of an emperor, and the chaos of subspace could not contaminate him or anyone under his command. Only a fleet could be sent to physically destroy him. But now Qin Sheng, where the location is, the mountain high emperor is far away. I'm not afraid at all. Shepard's Galaxy. Planet of the Morandez civilization. The Morandez civilization is a first-class civilization native to the Mulcher Galaxy. The main body of this civilization is a kind of plant creature. Their parent star, the Shepard's Galaxy, is the seventh planet orbiting one of its stars. The planetary trajectories of planetary systems in the three-star system are complex. But the seventh planet is blessed with a special trajectory that rotates only around one of them. The Morans naturally have a long life of thousands, if not tens of thousands, of years. But the Morans are inherently a bit sluggish, and they can survive only by photosynthesis, and they don't have much motivation for development. Therefore, after tens of thousands of years of development, the Morans finally entered the level of first-class civilization. However, the Morans also have their own pride. More than 100,000 years ago, their ancestors also reached the height of a second-level civilization and controlled the entire planetary system. At one point, it could expand outward and promote to the third level of civilization. But because of the dullness and pleasure of the Morans, eventually, they self-destructed, and the current Morandez was a new Moran civilization that had been redeveloped and re-reached the level of a first-class civilization. Next to the home planet of Morandez, in the airspace of the 7th-level satellite space city above the planetary synchronous orbit, there were more than 10 incomparably large fleets stationed there. First Army Fleet of Morandez. The First Army Fleet, with 12 fleets of 12. Each of the 12 fleets has one Tree of Life class attack carrier. The Tree of Life Pole class attack aircraft carrier is 5.1 kilometers long, 1.9 kilometers wide, and 700 m high. It can carry a large number of heavy attack aircraft against ships, and can also carry 10 frigates. If calculated according to the data of the Star Sea game, the attack power of such an aircraft carrier is more than 1 million. There are also 12 incendiary fire class battlecruisers. The addition of cruisers, destroyers, frigates, and other types of ships added up to more than 100. In total, the total number of attacks on ships by such a fleet exceeded 2.5 million. The First Army, with 10 fleets of this size, had a total number of more than 1,200 warships. Firepower against ships exceeds 25 million. The Commander-in-Chief of the First Army, Kalens, received an intelligence at this moment. Kalens was like an upright tree with more than 20 roots for him to walk. There are also 4 vine-like arms. Originally, Kalens was very lazy, but when he saw this information, he immediately woke up. The 6 eyes turned red in an instant, and the original green trunk body also faintly became distorted at this moment. Full of fanaticism. Found the Emperor. Pass on my order, the whole fleet of the First Army, and set off at once. Episode 19. Qin Sheng's fleet wandered around this ice blue planet for nearly half a month. Still haven't found a clue about the hidden task. Even the ice blue planet has sent people up to investigate many times. There is still not a single sign. Mad, what's the situation? Qin Sheng was a little confused. Could it be that the post you saw in a past life is fake? No, count the time, it's the nearest. How come it's been half a month and still don't have a clue? On the side of Anvilia, the 3rd level base has been upgraded. In another 5 days, the 4th level base will be upgraded. Qin Sheng sighed, still couldn't find any clue. The key should still be on this planet. Qin Sheng looked at the ice blue planet displayed in the virtual panel in the middle of the bridge. An unknown ice blue planet with an equatorial diameter of about 21,000 kilometers. The entire planet is frozen. There is no atmosphere. And curiously, the planet doesn't orbit any of the planets in the core of the constellation of Shepherd. Instead, it just stayed in place and rotated. 15 days passed. The frozen planet remains in its original position. There was no half movement. The planet was strange, but Qin Sheng had also sent St. Heli's elite maiden warriors to land and check it out. No half-point anomalies were found. Qin Sheng once again practiced Hedi on that planet. Hedi, did you find anything unusual? Qin Sheng asked. My Emperor, we have found something. Hedi's seductive eyes looked at Qin Sheng through the virtual panel. What's going on? The gravity index of this planet is changing. When we landed on this planet half a month ago, the gravity of this planet was twice the gravity of the Earth. It's normal. But now, suddenly, it's 4 times the gravity of the Earth. According to our tests, the acceleration of gravity on this planet became 39.1 meters per second. Qin Sheng bowed his head slightly, which was a very strange change. There should be a problem inside the planet, otherwise why does the planet's gravity suddenly change? After a little thought, Qin Sheng said, "Hetty, issue an order, and all the personnel on this planet will be withdrawn immediately. There's definitely something wrong with the underground of this planet, let's dig down." The corners of Qin Sheng's mouth drew a shallow smile. He had already discovered the key to the problem. In general, the gravity of a planet is related to the core of the Earth's center. In this case, there is definitely something wrong with the interior of the planet. The Qin King-class storm cruiser descended from space. It then took all the elite maiden warriors of St. Heli on this planet. After flying away from this planet, 8 Wuhan-Jun-class pulsed heavy artillery frigates formed a circle under Qin Sheng's orders. Close to the planet, 8 warships, all dark and depicted with a small blood-red seal with the word Qin on them, were in space, docked in the planet's synchronous orbit. It was enclosed in a circle. 8 plasma special pulsed heavy guns turned the muzzle, aimed at the same point above the planet. In this position, an electromagnetic restraint ring is placed. It should be this position, according to calculations. It is the first change in gravity here. Qin Sheng's eyes flickered with a glimmer, and then he gave an order. In the darkness of space, 8 purple plasmas shot out in an instant. Scratch through space. Hit this one point at the same time. The moment the terrifying plasma touched the ground, it would disperse. But the surrounding electromagnetic restraint ring automatically releases electromagnetic forces, confining the plasma to a fixed range. Plasma that cannot diffuse around can only diffuse downwards. Hundreds of millions of degrees of heat instantly evaporated the thick layer of ice sealed in this location. 100 meters. 1 kilometer. 5 kilometers. 1,200 kilometers. It's open. Qin Sheng's spirit was shocked. 8 Wuhan-Jun-class pulsed heavy gun frigates stopped firing at the same time. Plasma dissipation. Above the ground of the frozen planet. One is about 1 kilometer in diameter. A huge crater 1,200 kilometers deep appeared on the surface of the planet. A probe was dropped. Keep going deeper. It wasn't until 1,200 kilometers deeper that it suddenly opened up. Qin Sheng looked at the picture transmitted by the detector and his spirit was lifted. Sure enough, there are no holes in the underground of this planet. The frozen surface of the planet is just cover. The real planet's surface, under the huge ice that envelopes the entire planet and is 1,200 kilometers thick. Beneath the ice, frozen cities that had become ruins stood. All kinds of giant war machines, land fortresses are just parked casually. Also frozen. Ding dong, system prompt. You've discovered a planet with the remnants of a lost civilization. The current level of this lost civilization relic planet, level 4. Qin Sheng's pupils shrank suddenly. The remnants of civilization on this planet were, in the past, a 4th-level civilization. Level 4 civilization possesses the terrifying megastructure ability to transform an entire planet into a planet-level battleship. It was countless times stronger than Qin Sheng now. Not true. Qin Sheng suddenly realized something. If it is only the remnants of the 4th-level lost civilization, then in the past life, this simply could not cause the passing 6th-level civilization fleet to snatch. There must be a secret. Episode 20, giant warships were frozen under the ice. The smallest of these is also more than 7 kilometers long. At a glance, such a huge battleship, why not 1,000? Baby, these are all babies. When Qin Sheng saw this through the picture of the detector, the saliva was almost left. After a period of further detection, it is determined that there is no danger. Qin Sheng decided to personally take people down to investigate. After all, from the perspective of his past life, his strength was far less than his mighty Xintian could get rewards from this relic. Then he is unlikely to have an accident. It should still be safe. This relic is worth Qin Sheng's risk. The Qinhuan-class offensive cruisers and 7 Wuhanjuan-class pulse heavy artillery frigates stayed in space. Qin Sheng landed on this planet once again on a Wuhanjun-class pulsed heavy artillery frigate with 2,000 combatants, including a fighting humanoid maiden warrior regiment and a St. Heli elite maiden warrior regiment. Dark battleships land on the planet from space. Slowly, it fell into this huge crater that had been opened, 1 kilometer in diameter and 1,200 kilometers deep. Beneath the giant ice. Next to an icy battleship 15 kilometers long, 5 kilometers wide and 4 kilometers high. Qin Sheng, dressed in full coverage amethyst nano-regenerated single-soldier combat armor, held out his hand. Touch this giant behemoth. What a good battleship. Qin Sheng sighed, and above his helmet, the scarlet detection electron eyes in his eyes flickered. At this time, an armored engineering humanoid completed the detection, closed the instrument and reported, "Emperor, according to the detection, this battleship has also been frozen for at least 170 million years. For 170 million years, even if it is a creation at the level of a 4th-level civilization, it will be completely unusable. Qin Sheng frowned slightly. What a shame. Go ahead and go deeper. Qin Sheng raised his chin and looked at the giant building in the distance. A few hours later, Qin Sheng took a deep breath. Nothing. The only information we got was that the warships under these ice layers varied in size. It's not like the same civilization was built. And the results of the texture test also showed. Different styles of warships here have also existed here at different times. The oldest one has been around here for 180 million years. And the youngest one has also existed here for 19 million years. Qin Sheng, who had found nothing, couldn't help but sigh, if his golden finger was a god-level hint of that kind. This allows him to follow the prompts and thus find the real ruins' hidden mission rewards. Instead of being like now, you can only look like a headless fly, headless and brainless. And Qin Sheng also tried to continue digging down. However, what shocked Qin Sheng was that even the main gun of a Wu and Jun class pulse heavy artillery frigate that followed him. It can only melt the ice on the ground. And cannot damage the ground under the ice, the structure of unknown substances. This is a plasma pulse with a temperature of up to hundreds of millions of dollars. What kind of advanced basic materials science can make such a textured creation? Moreover, the ground thus constructed and the battleships that are frozen in ice definitely do not belong to the same civilization. This is a 4th-level civilization relic, but the existence of certain creations is definitely more than a 4th-level civilization. The Emperor. Ella stepped forward, just about to say something to Qin Sheng, when she suddenly frowned, as if she felt something. Without even thinking about it, he directly drew out the single-edged nano-tremor sword. Then throw it in a direction behind you. Ping-pong. The sound of metal symphony sounded. A figure flashed through the frozen ruins. It was a slender figure. A slender palm with the back of one hand covered in silver carapace-like substance quickly picked up the single-edged nano-tremor sword that had fallen to the ground. A pair of golden pupils looked hostilely at the tactical humanoid maiden warriors dressed in black full-coverage armor. Asudgazok As soon as you open your mouth, it is a string of obscure language. It was a tall girl whose vast area above her torso was covered in a silvery white carapace-like substance and wrapped around her. The delicate cheeks on both sides and the contours of the jaw also have this silvery white substance. There is also a pair of soaring double horns above the forehead. But this double horn is not the same as the double horn of the sadistic believer. More like a dragon's horn. Ether Dragon Man. When Qin Sheng saw this young girl's first glance, he shouted out this name in shock. Ether Dragon Civilization. It was a 5th-level civilization that Qin Sheng was very famous in his previous life. It is said that when this race was born, it was also the beginning of the Star Sea game. But in less than 100 years, it has developed from less than a 1st-level civilization to a 5th-level civilization. According to legend, this race is the descendants of ether dragons from the last cosmic era. It has the pedigree of a partial Etherosaurus. Ether Dragon is a terrifying name. The Ether Dragon clan, the last cosmic era, resisted the Big Bang of the universe, and then survived in the current universe of the extraordinary race. What a terrible race. Be able to survive the Big Bang of the last universe, to survive into this universe. But unfortunately, it seems that the rules of this universe are different from those of the previous universe. Most Etherosaurus died shortly after the universe had just begun because they had not been able to adapt to this change in the rule. Qin Sheng in his previous life did not know how the Ether Dragon race was born. Now it seems that it actually appeared from this relic. It seems that the items that could be snatched by the fleet of the 6th-level civilization in the past life should be related to the Ether Dragon maiden in front of them. It just so happened that in his previous life, Qin Sheng had also learned some of the Ether Dragon people's language in order to communicate with the Ether Dragon civilization and make a deal. Immediately, Qin Sheng walked out from the heavy guards of the fighting humanoid maiden. Emperor, be careful. Ella shouted somewhat anxiously. It's all right. Qin Sheng waved his hand and stood in front of the Ether Dragon maiden. When the Ether Dragon maiden saw Qin Sheng, she was immediately a little overwhelmed. Inexplicably in her heart, she had a little more trust and love for Qin Sheng. Qin Sheng's Emperor aura came into play. As long as you are a humanoid creature, as long as you are a subhuman race, you will be affected. The Etherosaurus are also a sub-ethnic race. Don't be afraid, we. Not the enemy. Qin Sheng slightly stumbled and spoke the language of the etheric dragon people.